Well, I can't believe it. I know I'm a mark, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I'm whatever you want to call me, a job squad member. That one didn't make any sense. But on last night's episode of Monday Night Raw, we had a main event of Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul, with the winner going into the Elimination Chamber. Now that kind of made me go, well, I'm pretty sure they're going to put Logan Paul in there, just given the ramifications of that match leading into WrestleMania. That didn't make it any easier, my friends. So today, we're basically approaching this from a kayfabe point of view, and this bald idiot doesn't even care. Because yes, Logan Paul hit his new move known as the Paulivizer. That's not what it's called. It's like pulverizer with, I can't help it, with Paul in front of it. I mean, it is the greatest wrestling name ever. No, the greatest new wrestling move, it's not new at all, is the Chiropractor by Dakota Kai, because what are you insinuating? Oh man, I'm going to give you free medical care. But I don't know how Logan Paul's ever going to hit that move on anybody else that isn't the size of Rey Mysterio, but he did hit it and he got the 1, 2, 3. And I'll be honest with you, man, wrestling is the most important of the least important things. But when I buy in hard. I just stared off into the distance and I was like, yep, that's right. Legend, Hall of Famer, game changer, the man who quite literally changed wrestling 25 years ago, whenever the flub it was, just got beaten by Logan Paul. I can never unsee that. I can never move past it. And I'm never going to forgive WWE for doing this. And in many ways, sure, you can say, Simon, doesn't that just make him a good heel? And it does. And I say fair play to WWE for making me feel something and making my emotions go off, whatever that means. But it doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I don't feel sorry for Rey Mysterio. But what a damn hero Rey Mysterio is. I mean, I don't know what happened backstage. None of us does, unless you were there. And if so, thanks for watching my video. That's very strange. But he just gets it, and he just understands, and he does do what's best for business. And I've heard a few people say this, and again, I don't know Rey Mysterio. I was able to shake his hand once when he worked for WCPW years ago. But it does kind of feel like the wrestling industry would be a lot better if everybody was like Rey Mysterio. Because again, he could walk around being all like, oh man, you can't touch me. The man essentially opened the door for probably like 3/4 of the wrestling rosters across the world right now, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I mean, it does open up some doors, to say the least, because I was so convinced it was going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, but I flinched to go with what the internet said. And actually, the reason I flinched is due to the other people that aren't flinching, because on that same episode of Raw, it does actually now feel like it is going to be Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, I would suppose. Now, how I didn't see that beforehand, I don't know. When we did the shenanigans last week with the disqualification when the Rhea Ripley allowed Liv Morgan to get into the chamber, I presumed the journey for Io Sky was still going to be to that match, but I never for 1 second even thought about the triple threat. And I then remembered a rumor that was doing the rounds sort of December 2024 that WWE had plans to do Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 41, and they decided to do it on the Raw Netflix debut for obvious reasons. It did really cool. Rhea Ripley won the title. It was a big old moment. You could do the dance of joy. So if you now find yourself in a position where you want to do something with Io Sky too, you make it a three-way. And WWE obviously has done this time and time again when it comes to these weekenders of WrestleMania. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We have to wait and see how it plays out. At least Io Sky will be in that match. And when she did get taken out last week, obviously a lot of people were like, no, I can't handle it. And while I think going back to the Liv Morgan thing may be a little bit too soon, if I talk like a nerd once again, which is the theme of this video, she does deserve it, to use a chant from the crowd, because she has been great in 2024. And that tag team match on last night's episode of Raw, of Damage Control taking on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, was brilliant. And I think the reason Damage Control won that is because we're going to plant this seed, which brand new WWE likes to do, and come post-WrestleMania, when Liv and Raquel will be a hardcore tag team and Dakota and Io will be a hardcore tag team. So I think Rhea Ripley retains her championship at that show. Hopefully one of them can go and win the women's tag team belts, and the other one, I presume that Raquel and Liv will win it, and then Damage Control could be like, oh, hi, excuse me, we beat you on that Raw all those times ago, so we deserve a shot at it. And those women tag teams belts haven't been that good since the Raw Rumble, just because we did have to sort of push it to one side to allow people to be in the Rumble itself. But 2024 was way better than 2023. And if WWE is setting this up now, quite pumped for it, right? Especially because that match again was seriously good. It could have been the highlight of the whole show. And the equivalent to that is the War Raiders just randomly taking on the Creeds. Again, a great match, but if you, I said this on What Culture Ups and Downs, make sure you check that out too. But if you had only just started watching Raw 2 weeks ago, you'd probably be like, who even are these challenges? Where did they come from? I just think WWE is so good at setting the hook and then allowing you to sit in it that we want to make sure we're definitely doing that for all of our championships. But I'm confident. I'm not saying it's a negative. I did feel like the Creeds were thrown into that position when there was no need, and we could have told a much better story. WWE mostly repays my faith, so I want to wait and see. So all of that's really, really good stuff. But my point being, going to a whole full circle, given that I never saw the triple threat match, maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, which I don't. So while I assumed it was going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul Paul, again, is the outlier here. He could cost CM Punk. Those two got into a promo battle with CM Punk basically squishing him like a bug. It's my favorite part of Raw. Shouldn't have said that. I am kidding. But also, if you want to do Logan Paul versus John Cena, you've just put Logan Paul in that Elimination Chamber match. And that's what I mean, because CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes is still an incredible main event for Sunday. For me personally, that's an either or with him or John Cena. Maybe I kind of lean just towards the John Cena one, because I love the idea that he's this close, then Cody wins. I think, well, actually, could argue it's the same with Punk too. I think it's this whole 17th World Championship. I just want to see how the fans will react to Cody if he beats John Cena. But you can easily come in my house right now, invited, everyone can come, I'll make you a cup of coffee, and say, but wouldn't it be the same for CM Punk? And it absolutely would do, because obviously CM Punk diehards are exactly that. They'll follow him to the ends of the year. So it is interesting. I thought Raw overall was a little bit of a, not a lame duck episode, that's not fair, but there's always one that usually goes slap bang in the middle of pay-per-views, premium live events, that has to take the foot off the gas a little bit, because we need to, once again, go back to the same phrase, plant the seeds, and then the flower will grow next time. So this one was more about telling you it's either going to be Seth Rollins or Finn Balor, and that Logan Paul is going to get in, and all the stuff we already talked about with the women. I mean, Lyra Valkyria versus Bayley, such a heart-wrenching, difficult, bittersweet moment. Because I want Bayley to win everything. I still think she's underrated despite all of her success. Whereas Lyra Valkyria has been the Intercontinental Champion now for, what, a month, 6 weeks, whatever it is. Maybe not that long, but it's been at least over 3. And she hasn't done anything with it. She wasn't on one show. She did a video on another one. She then entered the Royal Rumble, which, if again, you want to be a massive geek, you could go, so she cares more about the Royal Rumble than she does the Intercontinental title. Then she loses to Bayley. I don't mind that so much, but there just wasn't a big enough focus on the IC Championship for my tastes. And what do I know? And then Ivy Nile just walks up to her and says, I'm still thinking about you. And Lyra goes, I don't, what did she say? I don't step to you in the gym. Don't step to me in wrestling. You both go to the gym and you're both wrestlers. Just too rushed, too surreal. And I kind of feel the same about the US title on SmackDown, to be completely honest with you. I just think there's so many cool stories going on right now, which is why the Rhea Ripley stuff is so good. Io Sky walked up to her and essentially said, Rhea, you son of a gun, I am going to get my revenge. And then eventually Rhea, through guilt, even though she said, no, that's not why I'm doing it. Of course that's the reason. There's depth here, man. It's like, all right, fine. You can have a title shot the day after the Elimination Chamber. And that's nonsense too. Don't get me wrong. You can't argue it. That just takes away, if I was Bayley, but like, excuse me, Adam Pearce, why am I going to the Elimination Chamber if Io Sky gets a title shot anyway? Can't someone just come out and be shenanigans to me? It's probably why Ivy Nile didn't get involved in that match, because there would be the plot hole, right? Bayley, or who's the other person, Lyra Valkyria, could easily go, well, can I get a title shot? Because you just gave one to Io Sky. But this is me being a right nonsense idiot, right? You can get mad at me for this, going, oh, Simon, that's too finickety. It is too finickety, but my point is still this. I like the fact there's a personal relationship there. And at the moment, Ivy and Lyra is just like, well, I threw you out the Royal Rumble and we haven't talked about it much. And it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not like some people, especially with AEW, they go, oh, it's like WCW bad. Go back and watch WCW bad. Women on forklifts, no DQ matches that end with DQ, main events for World Championship with the commentators going, oh, he's gone off script. Nothing's as bad as that. Don't get me wrong. It's horrendously entertaining nowadays. But at the time, if you were a WCW fan, you saw your life burning before your eyes. Most foibles that wrestling companies make these days can be fixed pretty soon. You can't put the genie back in the jar when you look in the television camera and go, it's all fake, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we know that. I don't like the term fake anyway, predetermined. But you have to keep the magic alive when you're watching. Like when you go and watch a movie, it's the oldest story in the book. You don't want Brad Pitt to go, well, it's me, Brad. Here I am paying Cliff. I'd leave and I'd go get more popcorn, because popcorn is delicious. So yes, one of those episodes that you could absolutely miss and catch up in a week's time. Would love it if WWE did more with the New Day. Apparently some people didn't even see the New Day interview this week. I'm getting confused as to who sees what with the Netflix adverts. I saw it, and other people in the UK didn't see it. So now I'm confused what Netflix I'm actually connected to, but I did see it. And I would like to do more with them. Hopefully we're just holding fire, because they will win those tag team titles at WrestleMania, which I would enjoy greatly. And of course, we've got the update on Sami Zayn. The reason he wasn't on the show is because Kevin Owens killed him. That's essentially happened. Also, all the stuff with Jey Uso and Gunther was brilliant, because I felt it kind of lent into some of the, I mean, I would call it faux negativity, but that's not fair. Maybe you do generally get annoyed about it. But Jey Uso's entrance went on long again. He wanted the encore. So Gunther just walked out as if he was supporting thousands of people yelling on Twitter over the last couple of weeks. And he kicked the shit out of Jey Uso, to the point Jey made up his mind, which is why I was like, I shouldn't do this, because he was coming from an emotional place. And he's like, Gunther, I'm going to take you on. And there's our first official match of WrestleMania 41. I love that we booked it this early, because what I do not want to do, and it could still fall into this pattern, WWE has done it time and time again, is Jey Uso now loses, because we know he's going to win the World Championship at WrestleMania 41. I don't think he's that kind of character. I think he's too over. I think you can treat him like a superhero, and I think what most fans would enjoy more if he just wins, then wins the big one, and we can all do the dance of joy. How wonderful is it? Obviously, at least a vocal minority don't agree with this, but from my vantage point, how wonderful is it that one of the matches at WrestleMania is Jey Uso versus Gunther, and I lean on the side of Jey Uso winning? I just think it's tremendous. Like, if we're going to watch wrestling every single day for the rest of our lives, we're getting a lot of television, a lot of pay-per-views, a lot of content. I love it when, I wouldn't even call it a risk by WWE, because Jey Uso has organically got over, but we just missed that in wrestling for so long. If somebody all of a sudden is getting the cheers, you can see the connection, it's not just a one-off and it grows and grows, give them the Royal Rumble, give them a title shot, it doesn't matter. Even if it all falls on the floor and you can get on your high horse and go, I told you so, well, you win, because you got to gloat, and everybody else has got to try something different, and then next year you can go back to the status quo, or you can try again. I never want things to be the same. We've seen a lot of Royal Rumbles, and we've seen a Randy Orton win it, a Triple H win it, a John Cena win it. You know, all these people could have won it, and I just prefer Jey Uso doing it. And I never, ever, in any of my predictions videos I made, I didn't have Jey Uso anywhere near the World Championship. I certainly didn't have him winning it. So I think it's a huge thumbs up for whatever WWE has become in 2025, and give it to me more. So if tomorrow all of a sudden Tozawa is getting cheered and it doesn't die down, give him an IC belt, give him a US belt, give him the Money in the Bank. People will laugh about that. You can't give it to Tozawa. Not right now, you can't, although I love that guy. Vastly underrated. But if you can feel it in the air and you can feel that momentum building, I want to go with these random people, because it's the oldest boring stereotype in the book. But Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was the ringmaster, believe you me, nobody was going, we should push that guy. And the equivalent to that is, once we had pushed him and he'd become the champion, you can find old message boards, we're over pushing Steve Austin, who sold like 42 billion t-shirts. Now, that's not me trying to take away your opinion, of course. Even if you do have the contrary thought, if it's true and it comes from a good place, who am I to tell you otherwise? But sometimes you do have to look at the land mass and the majority of people. And Jey Uso, to me, is just wonderful. He's just a treat. I've got a young nephew who watches wrestling and just thinks Jey Uso is the coolest guy ever. And I see that, I'm like, that's what wrestling is for. I don't think we need to worry about our somewhat overly critical opinions. But of course, there's some good stuff in that as well. So it was a weird episode of Raw. It really was. There were some really good matches, which was nice. Maybe because it ended with the New Day attacking Rey Mysterio. Then it went off air as soon as Kofi had punched him, so that was a bit funny. And it's Netflix, although I guess it's nice to end on a cliffhanger. Maybe it was intentional. But you're always going to be left with the overwhelming feeling of the last thing that you saw, and it was Logan Paul beating Rey Mysterio. Like, I don't want to get into his past controversies, because I don't think that's fair. It's all been discussed. I've talked about it here on the channel. But if you had told me then that he would go on to beat Rey Mysterio, I would have banned you from my existence. I'd be like, you're never allowed to be in my sight. You're never allowed to be in my aura. You're never allowed to be in my personal space. And if you are, I'll kick you in the tush. But here we are. And again, maybe it ties back to what I just said. Maybe that's a good thing. I personally don't like it. But again, wrestling isn't made for me. And you can't like every single thing that is delivered to you, because that would make you an insane person and also be boring for everybody else. And Triple H would have to ring you every day and you'd have to tell him what you want. It's way too complicated. Trust me. It sounds way better on paper than it does in real life. Although people think that happens to me. It's difficult because people think I'm paid by both AEW and WWE, and I get zero checks. And if I did, I'd be just a tightrope, man. Do you know what I mean? Because the other one would find out and be like, "What are you doing?" I will be paid though. Honestly, you can pay me. I'll say whatever you want, but I'll also be transparent about it. I will literally say WWE is the greatest company to ever live. Triple H paid me 10 grand. Tell you, nobody's paying me 10 grand. Look at my clothes. Look at my hair. Look at my crappy beard. You think this is someone that is being paid 10 grand to do videos? No, it is not. But yes, one of those Raws that I will forever remember. I can't believe it. Logan Paul beating Rey Mysterio. But listen, I'm sure you have your own opinions. Drop me a comment below. Tell me why I'm wrong or tell me why I'm right. I appreciate it all. Click the video on the screen, which is me guessing who will leave WrestleMania 41 as all the champions. That's World Champion, IC Champion, Tag Champions, and the rest. Otherwise, yeah, like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. Especially if you are on mobile. Otherwise, it's grillamine.com/Simon. Please use code Simon to get 10% off. I support all of these. Come follow me on social media. It's SimonMiller316 everywhere, or Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo for those Valentine's Day messages. I've done a few. All of them are a delight. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller if you want to buy a Simon Miller t-shirt, which I always appreciate. If you are losing your hair, that's okay. No reason for me to say that, but I've said it now, and I will see you tomorrow very, very soon.